Hello and good evening to you all. My name is Tony Cichoke, and I wanted to first of all, much thanks to President Sophie Yani for giving us the opportunity to talk to you about football, a game that we all love. Um, and much appreciation to all the coaches that are going to be in the audience today, as well as Coach Mark Bright, who kind of set this whole thing up. I speak on behalf of the IAFA, and we want to express our humility for your honoring us with the opportunity to share our passion and our experience and our love of the game of football. And I know that when you guys say football, you're probably meaning what we would call soccer. But it's just ingrained in me to call it football. So I apologize from the very beginning. And I'm not being disrespectful in any way. Um, my French or my Arabic is non existent. So I can barely speak English at this time. And so if I start to go too fast or you don't understand what I'm saying, please stop me and we can go back. But for most questions, um, please write them down. We always say if you think it, ink it, because a lot of times what happens is I have a fantastic question and I don't write it down, and then 30 minutes later I forget it. So write it down, or I know that we have chat on the Zoom calls, so Mark or Mr. President could answer the questions to the best of their ability, and then I could answer any subsequent questions after that. Does that make sense? And
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
so we'll go forward. So I know that you've already heard from one or two of our coaches, and I know that they talk more about skill development as per positions, and that's super important. That's integral in our ability to coach kids. Um, Let me give you a little bit of background on myself. I played only 6 years of football my entire life. I started my senior in high school, played 4 years in college, and signed as a free agent with the Green Bay Packers. And my career was cut short with a knee injury. So I only played 6 years. And that's kind of a bummer deal, right? But as those other guys were playing, I got the opportunity to start coaching. So what I lost in playing time, I gained in coaching time. And so I learned from the very bottom up. What we would call a graduate assistant or a GA. You make coffee at 6 o'clock in the morning for the staff. You go out and get donuts if the coaches like to eat donuts. You break down all the film. You do all the grunt work, what we would call grunt work. I don't know what you guys would call it over there, but the kind of dirty, nasty stuff that nobody else wants to do. And so you learn that coaching is not just a glamorous thing. Coaching is your ability to do anything possible for the success of the team. And so what I'm sharing with you today might be a little bit drier than videos of tackling drills and receiver drills or that sort of thing. But you do need to understand that this is the foundation of a great football team and a great football organization. You can have all the best athletes in the world, but if your organization is not solid and is not managed with success in mind, at some point in time, all those athletes are going to either leave or they're not going to perform to their very best. And so I apologize if it's a little dry, and I'll try to crack some jokes and that type of thing along the way. But understand that the foundation is crucial. Okay, so our plan of attack for this clinic, and maybe there'll be another clinic after this that we do for you guys with me, but we're going to talk about organizational and the management of a team. So within that is building a successful football organization, implementing an effective football practice plan, and then molding great coaches. That's basically what I do nowadays. My body's kind of beat up so that I can't get out on the field and coach on a daily basis. So I coach the coaches, whether it's at the collegiate level or at the high school level here in the United States. And having said that, all the things that we're talking about are going to be with, from my experience of and our experience of coaching football here in the United States, your resources and opportunities might be a little bit different over there in Morocco. So again, we just need to kind of bend, what we would say is bend our knees and adjust, okay, to the situation. All right. So we're building a successful football organization. All right. So we need to start with the ugly stuff, right? Wood and concrete are not very pretty, right? But we need those foundational uh, elements of an organization to build a beautiful house at the bottom right. If you start saying, oh, wow, we're going to build this beautiful house with no concrete and no sub whatever we call it, the underneath the dirt and the sand and all that sort of thing, we could build this beautiful house, but if we don't have a strong foundation, then the house is going to, at some point in time, in a monsoon or an earthquake or whatever, is going to crumble to the ground, right? And so that's kind of the same thing with an organization. Is we need to build a very, very strong foundation, and it starts from the top and it goes all the way down to the bottom. All right. So there, we always talk about team, and that's an acronym for together everyone achieves more, especially when no one cares who gets credit for the success of the group. So whether you're the head football coach or whether you're the assistant defensive coordinator or you're the kicker coach or you're a volunteer coach, you are as important as anybody else, right? And there's a lot of people, we've talked to them on the other side of the water from here, and there's a lot of people over here that they coach so that they get the credit, so that people say, "Oh, wow, you're such a great coach." That's not why we all coach. We coach for the team, and that's it, right? So we're kind of a faceless person that does everything possible for the benefit of the success of the team. Okay, so building the staff, the head coaches and coordinators need to be assigned early. They need to think about all aspects of football, meaning practice, game management, strength and S&C. Anytime you see S&C, that's called strength and conditioning, which what you might call training, athletic training, getting your body ready for the rigors of a football game. Okay, my slide is missing over here. There we go. Okay, we need to establish a coaching philosophy. If you're the head coach, you need to say, this is how we're going to play. This is why we're going to play the game of football. And so every person in that organization needs to believe and be in lockstep with that philosophy. Whether it might be, hey, we're a defensive team and we're going to focus solely on defense and we're going to be the best possible defensive team that we can be. And then we'll play offense and we'll play special teams, right? There's a couple teams in the NFL that have won Super Bowls um, focusing on defense, namely the Chicago Bears. I have a Walter Payton jersey back here. You probably can't see that. The Chicago Bears in 1985 won the Super Bowl because their defense was dominant. They still talk about it being the best defense in the history of the game. The Baltimore Ravens have won 2 Super Bowls because they play dominant defense. It's not just about offense, but that's the philosophy of the coach, right? The coach might also want to say, you know what, we're gonna beat people up. We're gonna be the biggest, strongest people on the field, and we're literally gonna knock the stuffing out of people, right? So the strength and conditioning program that's the heartbeat of that program. So the coach needs to establish that coaching philosophy that you need to meet in the off season, whenever your season is. And when is your season? I'm asking you guys. You're all on mute. Okay. So in the off season, football is a 24/7, 365-day proposition. I know all of you guys have full-time jobs, and coaching is probably not your full-time job. And if it is, you're unbelievably lucky. But we understand that everybody has to work so that they can coach. And so having said that, there needs to be time spent in the off season planning, okay, making sure that everybody has their duties and responsibilities penciled out so that I, as an assistant coach, understand what the recommendations are for me, the expectations are for me, and then we can go from there. Because we always talk about it, if we're not working harder than anybody else in the world, then we're cheating our kids. And as a coach, you'd never want to say, look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm cheating my kids. Okay. Also be a student of the game. We have learned in the past year that virtual coaching clinics are the only thing that we can do. There are a lot more up. There are many other resources. There's video books. There's videos. There's USA Football. There's different websites where you can learn as much as you want about the game of football. But you need to be careful where you're getting this information, because there are some people out there that throw some crap up there, and it's not very good. So just be leery of that. But and one thing we always talk about is be an expert in something. Whether it's receiving, whether it's tackling, whether it's special teams, whether it's your ability to be able to train athletes to be the biggest and strongest and fastest they can be an expert, be that resident expert. That's going to help you and your team become as successful as possible. Okay, so different teams have different org charts, organizational charts. This one just starts with the general manager. There's the head coach. There are 3 coordinators, all responsible for 3 different aspects of football. You have your positional coaches underneath those coordinators. You have your team trainers, or maybe you guys call them physios. We have a performance strength and conditioning coach, and then we have volunteers and parents. And anywhere that I've ever been, except for the NFL, the volunteers, the parents, and the families are crucial. I know that in a couple countries, parents are not supportive of the kids. They just let their kids do whatever, and they don't go to the games. They don't take them to practice. They don't do anything like that. And so that could be a cultural thing. But we've found that the bigger the village, you've heard the phrase, possibly, it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to raise a football player. And the bigger the village that we have, the better that kid, the better that football player, the better that football team is going to be. Okay. So here's a head coach. I don't know if any of you guys recognize him. This is Bill Walsh. He's won at least 5 Super Bowl rings. He's since passed on, but he is in the Hall of Fame of coaches. He's like the #1 Hall of Fame guy. And so anything that you can read or listen to about Bill Walsh, do it. If you want to be a great football coach, Bill Walsh should be your mentor from afar. Okay, he coached for the 49ers in the 80s and the 90s. All right, so I don't know if we're going to be able to provide you guys with these slides, or at least all the slides. That's going to be between our president, between Mr. President, and also Mark. But anytime you want to take a picture of something, do it. And I'm not going to read through all this because it'll take too much time. We have 60 minutes, or we have 53 minutes, and we have 53 slides. So I have to zip through a lot of this stuff. But I would take a picture of this with your camera or your screen or your computer, because this is gold coming from Bill Walsh. And at the very, very top, look what it says: organized, organized, organized. Those are his words, right? At the very top, being the most organized person that you can be. We've seen coaches go out there, they don't have their whistle, they don't have their practice plan, they're writing down the practice plan at practice. They're yelling at kids. They're not fair to they're not treating the kids equally. They show favoritism, those types of things. Not good, no bueno. So make sure that these things here are indelled in your brain and in your football soul. All right. One quote that he says here is, treat all players with respect Never belittle a player. Players' safety, ego, and character are at your disposal. Teach, don't holler. Give specific compliments, never just general flattery. Teach, don't holler. A lot of coaches yell, and the reason why they're yelling is because they don't really know football very well. And so they're basically beating the kids into submission. And that's not what we do as football coaches. Now, did that happen back in the olden days? Yeah. And that type of coaching is gone. It is completely gone. And so we weeded that out as much. Okay. The other quote is another good quote. I'm sorry. Let players operate somewhere between the plan, whatever plan you put into place, and chaos. Closer to the plan, the better. We don't want to coach robots. We need to leave some more for individuality. You guys have some fantastic athletes over there, right? You want them to play athletically. If we train people to be robots, like soldiers that are marching together, that's great for discipline. But when push comes to shove and you're on a football field and something happens, you need to have athletes be athletes, right? Okay, these are some examples what coordinators need to do. The only reason I'm going to show this type of stuff to you guys is because it needs to be detailed. It needs to be written out. It needs to be written out long before anything starts. So just to give you an idea, the fall camp starts in mid-August for us. The season starts the first week of September. In May, we're starting to put together our practice plans, and by the end of May, our practice plans are done. So then we have June, July, and half of August to tweak it a little bit, right? And then so that we're not creating things while we're supposed to be coaching kids, right? We took advantage of that time. So May, we started our practice planning for a camp that starts in mid-August for a season that starts the first week of September. Now, obviously, your seasons might be different, but the getting all that pre-planning done, being proactive is crucial. Okay, so here's what assistant coaches, some examples of what assistant coaches need to do, and these things all need to be detailed out by the head coach so that the expectations are known, and then the head coach can hold everybody responsible. And if Fred G is not doing his making sure that all the practice cards are being ready for the defensive opponent for practice, then Coach Fred is going to get his butt yelled at by the coach, not in front of the kids, but behind closed doors, right? But the assistant coaches need to know what the expectations are, okay? Again, being an expert at being an expert at one coaching position, right? Okay, so this is for one high school, okay, and high school for us is ages 14 to 18, and so this is one high school, and they had about 6 coaches, and look at all the responsibilities that they had to share, right? They're talking about recruiting and weight training and academics, video operations, meals, equipment, travel, playbooks, scouting reports, facilities, setting up the facilities, all that type of stuff. Okay, breaking it down so that nothing goes unplanned, right? And again, any of these things that you want to take a screenshot of, go for it. And then we'll also send you something later as a follow-up, right? So sweeping the shed. So I don't know if you guys are very familiar with rugby, but the All Blacks arguably are one of the top rugby clubs in the country, and they have been for a long time. They talk about sweeping the sheds, and basically the value is personal humility, whether it's the team captain or whether it's the president or whether it's the all-star on the team. Each of them will take the responsibility after a game to clean up, not only after themselves but also clean up the locker room after their teammates. And so it's a service, right? It's a humble service of the team. And it's not belittling or anything. It's much more different. It's an honor to make sure that we're going to take care of our family, of our team, and our yeah. Okay, does that make sense? Everybody's nodding their head. Okay, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this guy. This guy's name is Bill Belichick. He probably has 5 or 6 Super Bowl rings. He coaches for the New England Patriots. The reason why we show him here is wherever you are, you need to be the best possible coach. He was not the best possible coach his very first day of being a football coach. He was not the head football coach of the New England Patriots the first day he coached football. All right. He had to work his way up the ladder. If you look at down here and you look at the coaches who coached or played for Bill Belichick in what they call the Patriot way, you have Bill O'Brien, who was with the Houston Texans, Matt Patricia, Brian Flores, Joe Judge, Mike Vrabel, Cliff Kingsbury, and Josh McDaniels. That's 7 coaches in the NFL. One of them's not there anymore. 7 of the NFL coaches, there's 32 teams, so you guys do the math, that have grown up as coaches in the Bill Belichick way. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Bill Belichick's dad, Steve, was a assistant football coach at Navy, and that's how Bill grew up. He was at Navy learning about how to coach from his dad, even when he was in high school. Okay, this is his road to success. So remember, I said that you do whatever you can for the best of the team. It's not all about glory. So he was with the Baltimore Colts and he was making $25 a week. Now, in some countries, that's a lot of money. Here in the United States, $25 a week is not a lot of money. But he did that the entire year. Then he was an assistant special teams coach. Then he was a receivers coach. You can read on down the list. I know that you all can read. Okay, but look at the different positions that he coached. And as you can see, he started to narrow things down, right? He started to become an expert in something. And he ended up being an expert in defense. And then as a linebacker coach, right? And then he became a defensive coordinator. And then he became a head coach with a defensive philosophy of we're going to win games playing defense. Okay, that's one. He's a Hall of Fame coach right there, right? That's his coaching life. And you can see that he coached from 1975 starting, and he's still coaching. It's 2021. So that's a long time. 25 plus 21 is 40. Is that 46 years? Is that right? 46 years of coaching, okay, to be as good as he is. And there was times when he was not a very good coach, and they did not win. But he continued to fight through it because he believed in that way, right? Okay, so Kui Kamana is Hawaiian, and it says a child behaves like those who reared him. Okay, now I don't know the ages of the kids that you're coaching, and when I say kids, I'm an old man, so everybody's a kid to me. But the kids are going to act the way you treat them, right? Whether you're raising them as your own children or you're raising them as your football children. And so yelling and screaming at these kids is not going to be a way to get them to do the very most they can for the team, right? Because they're worried about you yelling at them and hollering at them and not worried about their technique and all the things that they need to do. So that's something I love the fact, because we are football dads and we are football moms. If there's a lady coach, and I know that there are some young ladies that play football in Morocco, and they look up to us as their football parents, for guidance, for mentorship, for discipline, for, if you want to call it love. There's all many different types of love, and so we need to be able to treat them the way that they deserve to be treated. Okay, really quickly, football is not something that we do just from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, and we've talked about this as coaches, but we're also saying this about the athletes. And that's one of the great things about football is here in the United States, football is played from August until November, and then they train from November until August. So there's a whole lot more training and skill development and athlete development than there is actual playing of games. Okay. And so this kind of just shows when are we working on skill development versus when are we working on schemes and X's and O's. So anytime we talk X's and O's, that just means we're talking about offensive plays and defensive plays and that type of thing. Okay. And so you see that in the postseason, it's much more skill development and not very much schemes and X's and O's. But then during the season, skill development tails off, and we really focus on how to run the plays, how to execute together, how all 11 players are moving in sync. Okay, and this is just a slide on long-term athletic development, and we can get you this slide. And I don't know how involved you guys are in Morocco and in building athletes, but this was written through the Canadian Olympic Committee as well as a U.S. Olympic Committee, and it talks about these windows as to when's best to work on kids' speed and their coordination and their strength, and then back to their speed as well, and then examples of how we develop that athleticism. Okay, because we can build better athletes, and better athletes, believe it or not, make better football players. But I really want you to see that top left. The reason I left this slide up here is if that you see the top left, it says fundamentals, right? So fundamentals is foundational type work. But see the first three letters? It's fun. This is a game of football. It should be fun. Kids should not dread it. Kids should look forward to coming to practice. They might have had a crappy day at home. They might have had a crappy day at school. And you might have had a crappy day at school or a crappy day at work. But once you walk onto that football field, it should be like an oasis. It should be like the most wonderful place to be, because all you get to do is focus on working together to be the best organization possible. And it's a glorious feeling. It truly is. Okay, so being a farmer, this just kind of reiterates that it's a 365-day proposition. I know you have agriculture in Morocco. The farmers just don't work during the harvest time. And that's a tough time, harvest, obviously, but they cultivate the ground, and then they work the ground, and then they weed it, and then they plant the seed, and then they water the seed, and they continue to work and work and work until the plants start to grow. And then we have to harvest. So it's being a farmer is just like being a football coach. You got to work all of the time and we talk about working on your craft, working on being the best possible football coach that you can be, right? So there's a guy by the name of Sun Tzu, sorry, I misspoke. And he was a Chinese general and a Chinese philosopher a long, long, long time ago. Sorry, I had to take a drink. And he said that every battle is won before it's even fought. Okay, and that's kind of what we're talking about, right? The more we plan, the more organized we are. We've already been successful in our game with our teams before we even step onto the field. Stepping on the field is just like dessert. It's just like sweets. It's the culmination of all of your hard work and just letting the kids run and have fun and get after it. Okay, I'm going to zip through this really quickly. I can send these to you, but this is in where we live. This is basically what we do in the postseason, November and January. We do defensive evaluation. So we're going to tell the kids what they did well and what they didn't do very well. And this is kind of like a report card, but for football, right? And it says D-line and linebackers and defensive backs on the side. And then these are the core competencies that we want our athletes to be able to perform: basic skills and advanced skills. And then what we want to do is we want to tell the kids, okay, these are the things that we want you to work on, and here are some of the ways that you do that so that they can go and work on it on their own. Because a football player isn't going to be able to do everything with you. They have to go out and do it on their own, or they have to go out and do it with their brother or their friend or whomever it might be. Coach cannot be there all of the time, but we need to give them a plan for them to be successful. So there's one for defense, there's one for offense, same sort of deal, broken down by positions. Okay, again, we're going to zip through all this stuff because I don't know if this is something that you guys can or cannot do. Again, we'll if we can send these slides to you, we will. These are defensive skills broken down by position. By position. Okay. So all of these are integral to athletes being the very best that they can be. So this is just a menu of things, starting from the very, very basics and going all the way down to much more complex deals. Okay. That was defense, and there were offensive drills. Okay, so we're teachers. So this is a teaching progression. So going from left to right are all the. Can someone mute, please? Hello?
ها؟
سوري الدراري عفاكم اللي مخلي المايك يحيدوا الله يستر عليكم. And sorry coach, you can complete.
Okay, thanks. I'm trying to go as fast as I can. So here's just an example of linebacker drills. So at the bottom, you would see that these are the fundamentals of playing the game of linebacker, stance, movement, tackling, alignment, assignment, some of the things that Kurt probably talked about. And then going up, the drills from A to G are going from basic drills to more complex drills. Okay, so we're going to go through that. Cultivating the football culture. It all depends on what your culture is. Morocco culture versus Uganda culture versus American culture versus Irish culture. They're all going to be different, but you need to cultivate that football culture in your villages, in your towns, in your organizations. Okay. So we're talking about creating and maximizing the effective practice plan. So the practice plan is the foundation of a successful season. So we talked about some of the elements of a successful organization. And the foundation of that, we're going to talk about now the foundation of a successful season, starting with the effective practice plan. Remember, we said that in our situation, we start camp in August. We're working on our practice plans in May. Okay, tweaking those along the way. So there's a gentleman by the name of General Colin Powell, very successful Army general here, and a politician, said there's no secret to success. It is a result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure. And we don't like to use the word failure because to me, failure means stop trying. That's in my vernacular. Okay, but we learn from mistakes that we make along the way. There's going to be times when we fall, but we need to get back up and not make that same mistake again, right? So created a practice plan. It needs to be detailed. We need to maximize the time. We need to be punctual. You know, if we say practice starts at 1 o'clock, then practice needs to start at 12:55. Everybody needs to be at the field 10 minutes before practice starts. So don't have any stragglers or anything like that, because we're wasting time if we do. We need to make sure that we tell everybody the speed of the drill. We want to keep things shorter than longer. As you guys know, as this thing lasts longer and longer, you start to get tired, you start to lose focus. Kids are the same way. Keep things short, keep things fast, and then get in and get out. Competitive and energetic, incorporate games as much as you can. Kids love games. Remember, we said we want football to be fun. So if we can have football type games involved, even at the high school and college level, we've done that, right? Because college kids who are in their 20s, they're still kids. They still want to have fun and play around. Consistency of practice, whether we win a game or lose a game, we treat the kids the same way and we practice the same way. Okay, we treat all kids like professionals. Our circuits, and we can talk about circuits later, 3 minutes per circuit, and we're moving quickly. We get a couple reps and go, and then the swarm drill is defensively. Okay, so here's a practice plan for double platoon. Double platoon in our language means that you have people that only play offense and you have people that only play defense. And so this would be an example of a double platoon practice. There's many, many different practice plans that you could see, but you can notice that most of the sessions are 5 minutes at a time, and at the very most 10, and you're moving around. You're not doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, because if you do that, then the kids start to get I don't want to use the word bored, but they get mentally drained. Okay, this right here is a practice plan that we used in college at Portland State. It's also a practice plan that we used with our youth organization, and this actually is a youth organization practice. So when we say youth, we're talking about 7-year-olds to 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds. Okay, and notice that each period is a 5-minute period, and we're going quick, 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 quick. At the very top, we have what we're doing before practice. On to the center and to the right on the top, it talks about what our focuses are going to be for that practice, and then as you can see, who's responsible for what, and all the way down to the end. And we always end up with a game. So on this practice plan, we had a shuttle race. So we were racing. You know how kids love to race and brag about who's faster, right? And so anyway, so some major coaching points is make sure that you match them up, size and ability. It's no fun for the kid who's super big to be matched up against a kid that's small, for either one of them. And then ability wise, if somebody's a whole lot better than the other kid, doesn't help either one of them out. So make sure that you match your kids to size and ability. No walking on the field every single time. It's disrespectful. It'd be like being disrespectful in the church, okay, or the temple, or the synagogue. You just can't do that. You can't walk, and so it needs to be sprinting, or it needs to be jogging, or whatever that tempo is, right? Because what you do is you're conditioning them mentally, but you're also conditioning them physically. So at the end of practice, you don't have to force them to do long sprints, which again aren't necessarily fun. Praise, effort, hustle, and improvement. Right? Those are all positive things. If your kid is on the team, make sure you do your very, very best not to coach that person. Let somebody else coach your kid, because there's a lot of reasons why that's a good idea. Everybody should have a good whistle and use them. We talk about positive bombardment. That means every single time somebody did something good, praise them loudly, and then we correct them quietly. Okay. So this is kind of the matchup deal, right? So up at the top, we got a good matchup. We got big boy versus big boy. Okay. Down here, this is not a good matchup. This is a bad practice idea. Okay. This guy's not going to get he's not going to get any better. And this little guy here he's going to get hurt. Right. So this is the example of matching kids up by size. Okay. This was just going to show you a practice plan that was different from our preseason to our postseason. I'm sorry, preseason to end season. Preseason, we did a whole lot more skill work. When we get into the season, we're doing much more team stuff. So you see team, you see special teams, that type of stuff. So and again, our practices are only an hour and a half long, right? Because you don't want to, people that want to have a 3-hour practice or even a 2-hour practice, by the time that 2-hour comes and goes, the coaches are all worn out, the players are all worn out, especially where you guys are, where it's hotter than heck. It's just not a good idea to practice that long. Okay, really quickly, because I think we're going to run out of time. Oh, we got a little bit more time. Okay, so mandatory practice components. Dynamic warm-up. I don't know if you guys know what a dynamic warm-up is, but it's the opportunity to get the kids' muscles and hearts and tendons and ligaments all warmed up before we do the actual practice. That's usually about a 10-minute deal. We can send you examples of that function dynamics is something that we'd love to talk to you about at some point in time. And then making sure you work your neck. There's a lot of reasons to work the neck so that you don't hurt your neck, number one. Number two, a lot of concussions occur because kid gets hit, their head whips, and they get a concussion. And as you know, the concussions are the biggest issue of football right now. We're doing our best to teach away from that. But the stronger the neck I have, or the stronger the neck the kids have, it'll help with eliminating the occurrence of concussions. Okay, a swarm drill is just a drill where we're running around, sprinting to the ball. We talked about circuits, water breaks, mandatory. You need to schedule water breaks into your practice. I don't know if oh, there you go. See this? Here's a water break here. Here's a water break here. We had a water break before practice, a water break after. So they get water 4 times. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4 times during practice. Okay, and it's just run over, get some water, and come back. It's not party time or anything like that, but you need to hydrate kids as much as possible. A lot of fun runs. We always secure practice talking about what the coaches thought about the practice, that positive bombardment. We actually asked the kids, hey, say one thing about what one of your teammates did that was great today at practice. So not only are the coaches positive bombarding, but the kids are positive bombarding, right? And so the kids work hard during practice because they want one of their teammates to call them out in front of the team and say, man, that guy really did a great job of tackling, or he made a fantastic catch, or whatever it might be, right? That's building that culture, building that brotherhood. What else? We need to make sure that we script practices as far as our team periods when you guys get to that point in time. Instead of just trying to remember what plays you want to run, write them down, have them on your practice plan before you get out to practice. Make sure all your coaches know what practices or what plays you guys are going to be running so that everybody's looking for the right thing. And then as much 11 on 11 as possible when you can. Unnecessary, like don't do it ever in your entire life of coaching. There are these tough guy drills, the Oklahoma drill, the West Point drill, the bull in the ring drill, which here in the United States is illegal. These are drills where people think that proving how tough a kid is what football is all about. That is absolutely, positively wrong. Okay. Again, very quickly, coaching techniques. Feedback sandwich, positive, corrective, then be positive again. For example, hey, George, hey, great job on that route. Make sure that when you make your cut, you drop your butt down so that you can make it a little bit quicker. Keep working hard. Your hands look really good. Okay, so that was a positive, corrective, positive. Catch players doing things correctly. Focus on their cans and not their cannots. Focus on their strengths and not their areas of opportunity. So a lot of people call areas of opportunity weaknesses. We call them areas of growth or areas of opportunity. Feedback as promptly as possible. Be concise. You can read all that stuff down here. Okay. Pros and cons of playing football. This is the last bit. This is probably really good stuff, but we won't hit it. Make sure that you guys come up with a personal coaching philosophy. It serves as your compass of why you coach. Literally, why do you coach? Are you coaching for the money? Are you coaching because you want, honor, or you want glory, or whatever it might be? What do you like about coaching? What are your goals and objectives? Develop your own, in each of you, develop your own individual coaching personality, right? Are you defensive minded? Are you offensive minded? Do you like all the 5 wide spread offense stuff, or are you a guy that wants to play with 2 tight ends and 2 running backs and just play smash mouth? I mean, that's got to play to who you are, right? One thing that we truly believe is players don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care, right? And again, that goes back to being their football parent and them knowing how much you care about them as a person before caring about you as them as a football player. Okay, this is Lou Holtz. He's a famous head football coach at Notre Dame, one of the top motivated speakers in the past probably 20 years or so. It's his 3 rules. Just look them up on the internet. They're really, 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 really good, but I don't want to bore you with them. These, I think you might, any of you guys that are fishermen, there's 6 characteristics of a fisherman that are the same as being a coach. Okay, you need to be patient. As a person that's out there fishing, I'm not just going to throw my line out there and get a fish immediately. I need to sit there and wait and wait and wait, and then I have to throw my line out again. And the same thing with coaching is, you coach these kids and coach these kids, and the kid might not get it. Don't freak out. Don't get mad at them. Just continue to coach. Be patient with them. They'll pick it up. I promise you they will. Because kids, when they know that you care about them, they want to do everything they can to please you. Okay, being perseverant is similar to the patience, right? It's not going to happen on the first swing. Kid's not going to be able to catch the ball, very, very well on the first time you throw them the ball. Just keep building up, building up, building up. Courage to do the right thing. Take chances. One of the things that I used to do, and I don't advocate it, but kids, sometimes kids need a motivator. And one of the things I used to do as a defensive coach, I'd get fired up and they'd be wearing a helmet and I wouldn't be wearing a helmet. And it was a college kid and I'd headbutt him. And, I got blood dripping down my face and the whole deal. And man, they got fired up. They were excited. But for me to have the courage to go hit that kid in the head with headbutt him with no helmet, that was courage, but it gave them that inner like motivation to get after it. You need to choose the right moment to correct an athlete. If someone makes a mistake out in front of all the players and yelling and screaming at them is not the right moment. Okay, pull them aside, put your arm around them, and say, you know what, son, we just need to do a better job next time, and this is what we need to do to do better. Right? You got to choose the right moment. It says fit bait to the right fish. Each kid can't be treated and corrected the same way. Some kids have everything. Some kids have nothing, right? And so knowing the way to motivate those different kids and how they respond is using a different bait for the different fish. Okay, same thing that you would do with when you're out fishing. You're not going to use the same fish, same bait for a grouper as you would for a salmon or whatever you guys fish out there. And then keep out of sight, and that's a huge one. Coaches want to be all loud and screaming and beating their chest and looking across the field at the opponent's coaches, and talking crap or whatever it is. This isn't about you. I mean, your time was, in the past. This is for the kids. We're coaching for the kids. And so do your very best at practice to do everything possible to prepare them for the game. And then when it's game time, you sit back and just let the dogs run. Let them have fun and get after it. Okay? I think I got 3 more minutes and then we'll go from there. So here we go. The functions of a great coach. We talked about role model. We talked about master football teacher, which means you're an expert at what you do. Sometimes you have to be the equipment manager and take care of all that stuff. Don't say I'm too good for that. No, if you need somebody to do that, then you need to do that. Taking care of the helmets, taking care of the pads, tying the shoes, getting the ice, all that different thing. Managing your families. I don't know how involved your families are out there, but sometimes you have to do that. The athletic performance coach, working there's so much training on the internet, guys. You could take your kids from Morocco who aren't very good football players now because they're new and young to the sport, and you could train them to be the best possible athletes they can be, and you could crush other countries just because of the athleticism. Then you take the athleticism and their growing knowledge of the game, and then your growing knowledge of being a great football coach. Holy smokes, that's a great opportunity. We need to be a motivator. We need to be a positive motivator. We always talk about hugging a kid when a kid needs a hug and kicking them in the ass when they need that too, right? We need to be effective communicators. and active listeners. There's a reason why God gave us one mouth and two ears, right? Listen twice as much as you talk. And then scouting, I don't know if you guys scout there, but that's something that we do around here. So we'll finish with this because we're going to be done, and Mr. President needs to wrap things up for us. But as a great football coach, these are some, and I would take a picture of this too, and I'm going to hold you to these. And next time we talk, I'm going to ask you, each and every one of you, did you have integrity? Were your goals clear? Did you set a good example? Did you have vision? Right? These are all characteristics of a good leader. So this could be a good father. This could be a good president of a federation. This could be a good president of a company, right? But those are all things that we need as a good head coach or a good defensive coordinator or a good linebacker coach, because we're all leaders. Clear communication, expect the best, support where support is needed, right? Encourage, give recognition, stimulate work, focus on the team and not me, right? And inspire. And so I think, guys, for the Joe Judge, you got to look him up because he's great. He's also the Patriot way. Here's some do's and do's nots. Okay, I tried to do my very best to say thank you very much in Arabic, but I would not be able to pronounce that very well, and it would be disrespectful. I don't even know if that's the correct term, but that's my name, and that is my email address. And if you would like to contact me with different questions, I will not be able to send you guys the entire presentation because the file is way too big, but elements of it I could, if that's something that Mr. President and Mark and our president, Doug Cosby, feel comfortable with. I just want to say thank you very much for everything. It has been an honor. It's very tough to talk to people when you can't see them. I'm a person that loves to be in front of people in the same room so that we can exchange nonverbals and smiles and frowns and all that sort of thing. But I appreciate your time. I know it's late over there, and just have a blessed day, and thank you very much, and best wishes to you all in the game of football.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you so much for those important information and for this sharing of knowledge. We appreciate that so much. And in the future, why not? We have you here and try to benefit from your experience and your knowledge in football.
Well, I'd love to be able to help as much as possible. It's one of those things that I didn't make all this up. I learned it from somebody else. I learned it from people far smarter than I was. I was a sponge. I listened to the coaches. I wrote down information. I'm 60 years old right now, and I've been coaching since I was probably 22. So that's a lot of years of listening to people and writing information down and doing my best to implement it. And so it's my responsibility now to pay it forward to the next generation of coaches as yourselves, right? But the beauty of this is it's not just a United States thing. It's something that crosses the water. And if there's anything that I can do for the Moroccan American Football Federation, I would love to be able to do it. We were asked to come out to Uganda, and we ran some football clinics in Uganda, and then also up in the North Country. That was spectacular because you got a chance to see the kids and work firsthand with the coaches and everything. And that was obviously before COVID. But if that's something that you would like us to do, we would love to be able to do anything like that.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you. Trying to get out of here. There we go. Any questions at all?
Les amis, d'autres questions? Si vous avez des questions. Sorry, I'm trying to speak French with them. I guess not, Coach.
Okay. If there are any questions, Mr. President, please, write them down in an email. You have my email address. I'll be happy to answer as much as I can, and let's just keep this the lines of communication open through Mark and through Doug, and like I said, we'll do whatever we can to help you all out. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Coach. Guys, good evening, and thank you, Coach, once again, and
All right.
try to welcome you again in the future.
Okay. Thank you very much.